Welcome to the Mindset Evolution podcast, powered by Self-Recoding, world-class consulting and coaching services that you can access at selfrecoding.com. Self-Recoding is a unique blend of neuro-healing modalities that will empower you to reach your full potential. Join thousands of others who have experienced rapid results in their journey of personal growth. Now enjoy our show where we bring you tools for a powerful mind with your hosts, Kathi and Daisy.
And hello, everybody, and welcome to Season 8 of Bold and Blonde Mindset Evolution, the podcast that gives you tools for a powerful mind. I'm Kathi Tate, your host from Down Under. With me, as always, Daisy Pap, your host from way up there on the other side of the world.
Way up there. Oh, my goodness.
Way up there and in yesterday. How are you, Daisy?
Well, I'm fine in yesterday land, and I'm glad to speak with someone from the future. Doesn't happen every day around, and I'm very excited that we're recording Season 8. What an accomplishment, humbly. We were truly recording episodes so we can release once a week since over 3 years. And that is, to me, a fabulous accomplishment because it shows your and my commitment, your and my persistence, and your and my inspiration and love for humans and embracing the globe. And I'm so grateful for you and that we do this together. And yes, we're in the 4th year. That almost sounds dramatic.
Well, it is a very big accomplishment, I think. You compare what we're doing here to other things in your life, and going into year 4 is a big accomplishment. It's like the final year in college.
Oh, yes.
Right? So we should get degrees this year, Daisy.
Maybe that's a good thought. Let's discuss the options. And yeah, well, I'm ready to receive another degree. Why not?
So I've got an interesting topic up my sleeve for the first of Season 8. Many topics ago, I think it was perhaps back in Season 1 or 2, we did a few topics about the differences between men and women. And that's been in my mind ever since because I find it absolutely fascinating how different and yet how similar we can be at the same time. And I think it's worth exploring as our world moves into an era that really is desperate for better communication and better interpersonal skills so that we can build a better future. I think that it is a great time to talk about our masculine and feminine brains.
So that's the topic? Just asking for a friend.
It is.
Well, okay. I do recall that we did some episodes on men and women, and then it was followed by the man cave. And yes, I agree with you that it is important that we start understanding ourselves first and then also help others and allow others to see and allow others to recognize the difference and actually embrace it instead of fighting it. A good acquaintance of mine mentioned recently, because we were speaking about world peace, and he brought it up to a very interesting point, and he referred to an aspect, sharing with me that only will there be peace on earth when the masculine and the feminine will be in peace. Not one peace, but at peace with one another. So when we look at it, we all have a father and we all have a mother. I'm speaking biological. So there is required a male part and a female part for us to be conceived, period. Therefore, we carry masculine and feminine energies. Now comes the beauty of the pregnancy weeks. In a good case scenario, it's 40 weeks that a mother is pregnant with a baby, with an embryo, actually. And during these pregnancy weeks, the mother goes through different hormonal states that affects the swimming pool of the embryo. I call it swimming pool because it's easier to understand. I'm talking about the liquid where the embryo develops in. And now, depending in which pregnancy week parts of the brain or of the body develop, and what was the hormonal household in that swimming pool liquid, that particular aspect will be more feminine or more masculine. So when somebody says, yes, I'm totally masculine, big lie. I'm totally feminine, big lie. We are all both. Now, it's so interesting when we now look at what my acquaintance said that, the feminine and the masculine must become peaceful with one another. Therefore, my conclusion, I think, peaceful within. Meaning that I make peace with my feminine parts and my masculine parts and allow them to live in a harmony. Meaning that they're both welcome, they're both appreciated, they're both acknowledged, and still can live in sort of a symbiosis. I'm not talking parasites. I'm talking in a togetherness that can benefit from one another and that can support one another. And I'm not even talking about the brains yet.
Yeah, I find this super fascinating. And I think that's an interesting observation or idea that your colleague or acquaintance has made. And it brings to my mind the need for balance is what that says to me.
Yes, and acceptance. Instead of trying to suppress one part in me, what if I'd allow it to fully develop, if it's not developed yet, and then to also thrive? What's wrong about it that I like screwdrivers and hammers and drills? And what's wrong with that? Nothing wrong with it. This is factually true. I truly enjoy using tools and I'm quite handy with it.
Especially with hammers.
Yes, that's right. I forget about my favorite hammer and the nails, the steel nails. Yes. Well, I think it is important that we look at it not only from a biological point of view. Maybe more importantly, is it worthwhile to look at it from a peace-bringing point of view. Some of my clients are happily divorced. Some of them are absolutely not happily divorced, but divorced anyways. And some people are together and happy, and some people are together and not happy. Now, what happens when there are children involved, when they have children together, and let's say it comes to a separation, and let's say one of the parents then now condemns the other parent. I'm just making this up. Let's say a mother speaks poorly to a child about the child's father. So actually what the mother does, she is then torpedoing parts and pieces of that child that are fatherly or masculine. Now, what is the child doing? Actually, somehow, depending on the child, there will be a rebellion or there will be a protection or there will be some sort of action that will stop that torpedoes attacking it, the child, because it's trying to protect parts and pieces of itself, although the mother was targeting the father. Follow me here?
Just to clarify this thing that you're speaking about now, it's my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, that up until we're 7, a child sees itself as partly mum, partly dad. And so when one parent attacks the other, it's actually, in the child's eyes, attacking the child.
I'm not sure that there is an age limit to it.
Oh, okay. But just to try and understand what you're meaning, from the child's perspective, the young brain is very much made up of its mother and its father. Is that right?
Not only the brain, the entire being.
Okay.
So I'm not solely speaking about the brain now here. The brain comes later on. When I attack parts and pieces in you, let's say I would never do it, but let's say I would speak poorly about your mother. Then I'm not only attacking your mother, but all the parts and pieces that you inherited or that you are connected with your mother.
Right.
Now, some defense mechanism will show up. And now back to the peace bringing, it is important that therefore parents are self-developers and make peace with themselves and stop speaking poorly about their partners, because who chose them? They did, didn't they? Reminder, ding dong. So how is that affecting a child? And now how do we circle back to the brains? The female brain has a tendency that if I break with you, I broke with you. When you hurt me, I will remember, and I'm not going to sit with you at a table. The male brain, on the other side, they can have a big argument and then they can 10 minutes later forget about it and sit across a table in a pub. and have fun. So now you can see that there already a tension arises because the more masculine brain is very different than the more feminine brain. But we have tendencies of both, and it's okay. I give you a cute example. I was at a grocery store with someone today, and their brain appears to me very much on the masculine side. And I asked, so I'm looking for this item. The human answered to me and said, okay, so let me go and find it. And what they did, they went in front of the refrigerator section that is glass doors, so you can see what's behind there. And they went from top to down, again, top to down. They scanned it from top to down. And then they said, no, I don't see it. Now, that's typical for the masculine brain. Why? Because the masculine brain can rather see very far. Now, the feminine brain is more likely to even see almost what's behind because the periphery is much, much broader. So these are very interesting aspects. And I think when we understand that, for example, there are things where I can be so super focused and I have that laser focus and I don't see anything else but only that target that I'm looking at, and I'm scanning from top to down, doesn't mean that now I am solely masculine. No, but in that aspect, I am more masculine in my brain. Or somebody, for example, there are very beautiful humans who are very artistic in ways that in the past was more related to, or in societies, it was more accepted from the feminine brain spectrum. But there are masculine brains that are just beautifully putting it together. Now, that doesn't make them less masculine as a human. It's just in that particular aspect. And when we start accepting that, then I think we can truly accept the masculine and the feminine parts and pieces within ourselves, inside and out. And I mean it, period.
Yeah, I find this fascinating, Daisy, because when I was young and growing up, I was brought up in a rather traditional English type culture,
Yes.
family. And there were expectations put on us as to feminine and masculine, and my parents as well. Like, I know that it was either mum or one of her sisters, I think it might have been mum, who wanted to do accounting, and she was not allowed to because it was seen as a masculine profession, and instead was pointed in another direction. And then I remember being very young and being very puzzled by these societal rules around what was okay for boys and girls. And I remember wanting to fight against those rules. And if I wanted to play with boy toys, then I will play with boy toys. And I remember being quite young and deliberately testing those boundaries and not wanting to fall in line with what society was telling me I should be. And then, of course, having the whole struggle with my hair and the issue around feeling feminine when you don't have hair was another struggle.
Yeah.
And so this topic, I guess, is quite dear to me because of those issues that I've been through.
Yeah.
And it has taken me most of my life to come to terms or to find peace with the masculine and feminine parts of myself, and to have that confidence that it's okay to have whatever mix of them I have in myself, and ignore what society is telling me are their rules. Because I think the important part is that we are all uniquely different. And if the fact of the matter is biologically set in the womb, we don't really have any control over which parts of us are masculine or feminine, do we?
Absolutely.
I understand the pushback against gender roles in that way. I get that that's probably where a lot of today's issues are coming from, trying to sort that out in their minds. But I think if we just step back further and allow all of us to be a mix, to be our own unique blend of masculine and feminine in whatever quantities they are, well, who the hell are we hurting by doing that? Like, just let people be themselves and be their own unique individual makeup and find that peace within themselves and stop worrying about what everyone else is doing. Look after yourself. Figure yourself out and stop labeling and blaming and shaming everybody else. That's my answer.
Wow. I really appreciate your rebellion that is verbally very respectful. I truly appreciate, and I think that you're onto something, because why do we need to label it? I'm with you. I had a conversation with someone the other day, new client, and then they said, yeah, well, I have this and I have that. And I said, I have good news and bad news. And the ears, they were really curious, and you really saw the eyes got wide open. And I said, I don't do labels. Silence. They giggled. Okay. So only because someone said an opinion about a specific behavior that now this is A, or this is B, or this is M, or this is G, or this is J. I want to see the whole human as a whole human in their integrity, the wholeness, and then I make up my own mind. If I were to allow every single time someone tells me a label that I fall for it, it would be impossible for me to support anyone who endures serious challenges.
Yeah, look, I agree. I think there's an up and a downside to labels. A label can be important for the person who's experiencing whatever it is, perhaps some understanding of what is going on with them. But on the other hand, I think that labels can seriously limit us.
I agree.
Because they put this limitation on what is going on, and then you're stuck in it. It's almost like society teaching us to be victims. Oh, poor you. Oh, this happened. Oh, no. Oh, that's terrible. Oh, let's talk about it for 20 years and keep you stuck in it.
Yes.
That's not how I operate. I would prefer to see an acknowledgement perhaps of the trauma and then the fallout, and then let's get on with actually healing it and not keep people in victimhood. And I feel very strongly about that, because I feel like I was kept in victimhood of my alopecia for 20 or 30 years when I could have embraced it and been much freer for a lot of my life. And it was because of society's labels on me and the pressure to be, air quotes, normal looking, that I didn't. And in my life, that seriously limited me. And I know that's happening to millions of people still out there. And not just with alopecia either, with almost anything that society deems to not be, air quotes, normal. And so that's, of course, why I have a big issue with societal norms. Anybody listening to this podcast knows that. So, yes, I think labels can seriously be very limiting, and I wholeheartedly agree that I prefer not to use them as well. Although in some cases we need to start at a place where a label is just perhaps a descriptive word to help us understand what is going on, but then we need to move past the fact that we're labeling it.
I think everyone can decide what they do with a label. Everyone is free to choose. No one is free of the consequences of their choices. To go back to the brains and the masculine and the feminine parts, is that when we embrace what is, instead of really trying to justify it, why isn't it okay as it is? I spoke with a German astrologer the other day, and he has some really amazing insights because he's a historian too. So he looks back at specific constellations and then looks back in history what happened to which date, which constellations, and how feminine and masculine energies are involved, how they move along. And I find it so interesting that when it comes to the uniqueness, everyone who is born as a human has their very own unique chart, unique birth chart. There is no two alike, because even identical twins or not identical twins are not born at the exact same moment. Even if it's a C-section, because one of the twins is taken out first, or triplings or quadruplets. So there is such a uniqueness. And when we embrace that and say, yes, I am already unique, I don't need to prove that I'm more unique than anyone else because I am already. So when I know that, for example, I have, let's say, a masculine brain part, because when it comes to map reading, looking at maps and understanding them, that's more likely that the masculine brain parts are better at it than the feminine brain parts. Now, being at peace with parts and pieces within me that are more masculine and that are more feminine in other aspects, I can be totally at peace with it. I don't need to prove that I'm more unique than anyone else, or I want to be more unique than myself, because I am already unique. It's like the same, okay, I have brown eyes. Do I need to really prove I have brown eyes? Look, I have brown eyes. I have brown eyes, by the way. No, it is already fact. So there comes in that the moment when I acknowledge it, then there's no need to justify it or prove it anymore. Back to the uniqueness. Now, back to the measurement of how many parts and pieces or aspects within us and our brains are more masculine and feminine. The question is, does it really matter? Or is it maybe more important that we start living with it and see what works and what do I enjoy? Where's the joy part in all that? What's wrong with it when somebody enjoys taking apart a tractor and taking apart the engine and putting it back together? What's wrong with it? Does it really matter? Okay, so maybe my brain is a little bit too feminine. Does that really matter? No, you enjoy it. Go do it. As long as you don't harm anyone, I think you're good to go.
Yeah, I think that's super important because I believe that for the most part, this matters so I can understand myself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you brought up the maps and I giggle at that because, well, I'm pretty good with a map, but I have that feminine tendency to need to turn it. So it's pointing in the direction I'm going. So
Yes.
for me, north is up.
Yeah.
And if I'm driving south and the map is not pointing in the direction I'm going, I get very confused.
Mm-hmm.
But if it is, I'm okay. I can use the map brilliantly. So there's a mix or a blend of my feminine and masculine abilities in that I can read the map great, but it's got to be pointed in the right direction, which I believe is quite a feminine trait. And so knowing that these are traits helps me understand myself better. And I think that should be our goal. Let's embrace all these parts of ourselves so we get a better self-understanding and self-awareness of who we are and how we interact with the world instead of using it to label and judge. Let's do it for self-awareness and so that we can be more at peace with ourselves, then I feel like we can be more at peace with others. Would you agree?
Wholeheartedly. And here it comes, as it is inside, so outside, as above, so below. And when we just make peace with that, then we are good to go. Does it really matter? Again, back to what you just mentioned when it comes to the maps. For example, 3D thinking, three-dimensional envisioning is very much connected to the masculine part of the brain. So if we would make a list, which of the tendencies and abilities are more masculine brain or more feminine brain, then maybe we can gain a better understanding of, okay, in this aspect, I'm more masculine. In that aspect, I'm more feminine. And why fight it?
Yeah.
You can't change it anyways because it's like a lottery. Look, you cannot even blame your mother. What sort of swimming pool hormone levels were there in which pregnancy week while you developed yourself? Start playing with your gifts.
It's quite fascinating. And until you told me about that, it was a bit of a mystery to me as to how it happens, but it makes so much sense. And I don't feel like it's something that you could control even if you wanted to, because hormones are one of those things that they're exerting pressure and there's not a heap we can do about it a lot of times. So it is a very interesting topic. And certainly it starts with that scientific aspect of pregnancy development that is a bit of a mystery to most of us, I would have to say. And I think that this conversation today, well, I hope it inspires our listeners to, one, have an open mind about the topic, two, build that self-awareness about your own blend of masculine and feminine traits.
Yes.
And three, be inspired to stop judging others because that leads nowhere but conflict, in my opinion. We are better off embracing that we are all different and unique and being okay with that and appreciating it. Because what kind of world would it be if we weren't?
And now back to the astrologer, that he said, we are already so unique. There is no two alike, non-existent. So then therefore we can just leave it alone to try to be more unique, because that is very much promotion. That's very much the media. It's very much societal governing impressions and pressure. And I think that is not really necessary, especially we're in the 21st century. And I do believe that we are much smarter than being steered into directions because someone on the radio or someone on TV or someone in a magazine just said A or B or C. Everyone out there, whoever listens to us, you're so unique. There is no copycat of you. Look, many people can have what you have. No one can be you.
Love it, Daisy. What a brilliant final thought for this episode. We hope that you have enjoyed this conversation today, guys. Thank you for being with us for our season 8 premiere. And we hope you share this episode widely with your family, friends, colleagues, everybody you know. We believe that everybody can benefit from some inspiration in their lives, and that is what we aim to be. Please visit us at boldandblonde.live. Please also visit our major sponsor, Self-Recoding, and do not hesitate in supporting us. Keep us on air, everybody. We really need your help. boldandblonde.live, support us. And that's it from us today. We'll be back real soon with another amazing episode that will give you tools for a powerful mind. We are Bold and Blonde.
Mindset Evolution. Talk to you next time. Thank you for listening in to the Bold and Blonde Mindset Evolution podcast. Please share our show with your family and friends. Together, we make this world a better place for you, for us, for future generations. When you need consulting or coaching, visit selfrecoding.com. Also, please remember to rate us 5 stars and leave a review and support us at boldandblonde.live. Talk to you soon.